All right, welcome back to the Contrarians, everybody. We have another episode of Showcase, the episode where we get to know our Patreon members a little bit better, the folks that contribute to our panel discussions, who you've seen on a bunch of our episodes now. We just get to dive into their interests a little bit, ask them some questions, and get to know them a little bit better. So today we have Jamie. Welcome, Jamie. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? What's going on?
Not much. Glad to have you here. Actually, I think we initially subconsciously, I think I stole the name Spotlight from your show that you do with folks, and then I realized that after about an episode or two, and then we decided to change the name to Showcase just to not step on anybody's toes or anything. I don't know if you were aware of that, but
Yes, in the spotlight, a little sister channel I have that ties to my Facebook page, Let's Get Physical, where we talk about everything physical media. And I'll put someone in the spotlight, a member, anyone who wants to do it. It's actually getting hard to find people who want to do it, but I put them on camera and I just let them show off some stuff. Like here's my very rare album of blah blah blah. Here's my movies I like. Here's some magazines and comic books from when I was a kid. Just a little fun thing. So the page isn't just a bunch of pictures and names. You actually see the personalities of people and you hear their voice. So when they post, you think, oh, this guy, I remember him from that one video.
yeah, that's very cool, and that's pretty much. I guess I subconsciously stole the idea for this from you because that's pretty much
I'm
what we're
suing
doing.
you, Marco.
But no, thanks for being here, and yeah, we'll get into your Facebook page and your YouTube channel is kind of just your name, right? Like it's not really like a
Yeah,
channel,
it's
right?
nothing fancy. Years ago, I started it under my name and I didn't really have any direction. I was just kind of winging things. I was like, this isn't for people to enjoy. I would kept saying to people, this is for family members for when I'm dead. They could go on
Yeah.
YouTube and go, look at Uncle Jamie being a moron. So, but then it kind of evolved into this in the spotlight thing with my Facebook page.
Yeah, the digital footprint. We're all gonna leave it behind when we go.
Right, right. So I don't know how long this shit stays on YouTube. It's 2022 now. Make a comment below if it's like 20, I don't know, 58. Hello from the past.
Yeah, right on. All right. Well, thanks for being here. So we'll get into the questions. So, like, what first made you interested in music?
Oh my goodness. What a question there, Marco. You know what? I grew up, the first band I ever liked, I was like 5 or 6 years old. America, the guys who did Horse with No Name and Sandman and all those songs, Sister Golden Hair, because my aunt played the 8-track in her Mustang. And so that was the first album my mom ever bought for me. I actually have that same copy downstairs. And then I liked Kiss because we all liked Kiss as kids. I mean, they were superheroes, right? The music was almost secondary to me when I was a kid, but I used to play Destroyer all the time and Ace Frehley's solo album and Alive. But, and then they were on TV and they're superheroes with Phantom in the Park. And then I kind of stopped listening to music for a bit because I was too busy playing with Star Wars toys. I was always in my room playing with my action figures and watching TV. The music became a little secondary. So I kind of just started listening to what my parents were listening to until I was about 12, late in my year of being 12 or just turned 13. Because my friends at school were starting to listen to a lot of rock and pop, and I was like left behind. And I slowly started getting into it when I was 12 and 13. But then the moment happened when I was in the back seat of my dad's car and he's channel surfing, hitting those black buttons, remember those memory black buttons in cars, and the dial would go this way, literally. So he's doing that, and he came across this one song, and then he hit another black button. I'm like, Dad, can you go back to that other one? He hits it, and it was Promises in the Dark by Pat Benatar. And the song and the voice just opened the door for me. And at that moment, I was all in. That was the opening to the rabbit hole. And from there, I just went into a lot of 80s metal, even 80s pop. I would listen to Casey Kasem every Sunday, the top 40. And, he would give little tidbits of trivia during his show. And that's where I started to learn trivia, through Casey Kasem. Then you're like getting trivia books, you're reading a couple books. And then in my later teens, I made my own rock trivia game with like 1,000 questions, and I would MC it, and my buddies, we would play it. Of course, we made it a drinking version. Get a question right, give a drink, not get it wrong, you got to take a drink, all kinds of stupid stuff like that. So yeah, it all started with Promises in the Dark in a big way, but America and Kiss were pre that.
You're also really big into films. When did that start happening? And what are some of your favorite films?
Well, hold on. So, we all like movies. This isn't anything weird. We all just have different tastes in movies. Yes, we're all kind of into film when you think about it. Name a person who doesn't like movies. Maybe some of us like the artsy shit a little bit more than other people. You got the Fast and the Furious kind of people. They'll go see all 10,000 of those movies. And then you got people kind of like, there's movies and then there's film. I like movies and I like film. So when did I really start getting into it? When we got a VCR, when I was same age, maybe I think we got a VCR when I was 14. And here's the thing. I used to go to the mom and pop because there was no Blockbusters around me. I don't know when they came into existence, Blockbuster, but there was none around me in 84. We had all the mom and pop places. And they would get in one copy of a movie. You remember the movie Missing in Action with Chuck Norris? That one copy, I tried to get that movie for like months. You had to reserve it. It was on such a long wait list. And then I finally got it, and it wasn't even that great. So what they had was, you go in, you rent a movie, they go, here's a list of the movies we have in stock, in a little pamphlet type thing. So what I did is I would check off the movies as I rented them. And then I would give each one a star rating out of 5 stars. Missing in Action, 2.5 stars. And this is when I was 14 years old. At that young age, I could still remember everything I saw in the theater, because you only have about a decade of going to the movies. And you weren't going that often. You were only going when your parents or uncles or someone took you. So I started adding all the movies I remembered I saw in the theater. Then I went into a notebook. Then I would run out of room in a notebook, and I would have to rewrite it in pencil in another notebook, then another notebook. This was things I would come home from work and just do a few pages and redo it. And then about a decade ago, I said, I'm putting this in a computer. What am I doing writing it in notebooks? It's not even in perfect alphabetical order. So here is what it turned into.
Wow.
Is my movie diary of every movie I've ever seen, and I still add to it today with every movie I see. And it has like my 5-star rating, who's in it, a little synopsis of the movie, the genre, if it has a sequel or a prequel, what Oscars it won, is it a long movie, is it a remake, how many sequels. Oh, it's actually a pain in the ass to keep doing, but it's been going on since 1984. I'm not going to stop now.
You think there's any movie you haven't seen that you just missed that's not in there?
Oh, that's not in here? It would be real early. I got like the early 70s Pippi Longstocking in here. And I think it was released, maybe it was a Dutch movie, I think, released in don't quote me on that, like in the 60s. And then it finally made it to America in 73. I might have seen it when I was 4 years old. And how do you rate a movie you saw through years, through the eyes of a 4-year-old and with that foggy memory? But I remember not liking it, even at that age. So I put it in here, and I put it at 2 stars. And so if there's anything I forgot, it's probably from that era. Has there ever been a movie that I watched over the last 20 years and just forgot to put in here? I don't think so. Did some fall through the cracks of putting it into book to book to book to book? I don't know. but it's 99% at least.
See, how is it broken apart? Is it like alphabetical?
Yes, it's alphabetical, and I have a movie poster like M to start the M's, and
Oh,
under
nice.
to start the U's, and Rise of the Planet Apes to start the R's. Yes.
Does the movie start the S's?
I have never seen that.
Oh no, you got to see it. It's the movie title literally just a bunch of S's, and it's about a guy who turns into a snake.
Yes, I think I've heard about it.
I'm surprised you've never seen that.
That would not start the S's, no, because it would be S, 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 and you got the SAs first, and then SEs. So that would be deep in.
Now you're getting technical. So when did you start physically collecting things?
I guess when I first started buying cassettes in '83, and then before you know it, I was the kid on the block with a lot of cassettes, like the most cassettes, and then CDs. I was the first kid to have a CD player in my block in '85, Christmas of '85. So my first CD was Dark Side of the Moon. So cliche, isn't it? But and then I had like 14 CDs, and people were like, "Whoa, Laszlo's got CDs and an actual CD collection." And my first CD player was a little Discman, that you couldn't even walk with because it would skip if you bumped it just a little bit. So it was made for a tabletop. But yeah, I just plugged that into my stereo system, and before you know it, when I went to college, I had maybe 80 CDs, and people were amazed that I have 80 CDs. And you think now 80, I've bought 80 CDs on a sale for 50 cents each, maybe not that much, like I bought like half that. So yeah. And then it people say I don't throw things away, and I should, but I don't. I'm not a pack rat, but I don't like throwing things away either, because I'll be thinking maybe 5 years from now, why did I throw that away? So movies is somewhat new to me, collecting movies, because I always had the book, and I was like, that's my collection of movies in a book, things I've seen up here. And then damn Pete Pardo and Chris Allo buying movies, and then I bought a 4K player, and then I saw that remake of King Kong, the 2005 remake of King Kong in 4K. I was like, wow. And I started thinking, what does that look in 4K? You start chasing the buzz. What does that look like in 4K? And before you know it, I've got this collection around me. Not everything's 4K, but still. So does that answer the question, Marco?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Pete Pardo. How did you end up getting involved with Sea of Tranquility?
They say nothing good comes from drinking. A couple good things come from drinking. So the story is, I started watching the guy, and I can't remember the first video I saw. I think he was reviewing an extreme metal album. And, extreme metal is a genre that I just got into maybe over the last decade. So I was always going out on YouTube to see what's out there, Well, I like that one. Well, I like this one. And he was reviewing it. And then you go down the rabbit hole. Oh, he's talking about Floyd. Oh, he's talking about whatever. And you start watching video after video, and then you're making comments. And then he's replying to my comments down below. And, and then I'm just watching it. I remember before I was on the show or was really friends with him, I'm in bed with the wife watching it. And she's like, do you got to bring that guy into bed with us? So you just kind of always watching. And then there was this radio show that he would go on and be a part of. This guy, Jeff Young, would have this radio show. I forget what day of the week it was, but there would be a live chat. And I was like, I'm going on that radio show, and I'm going to get on that live chat, and I'm going to get to know this dude, Pete, through that. And then maybe one day I could get on a show, if you could become friends with him. So I'm doing that, and then we're Facebook friends, and all of a sudden we're texting each other through Facebook Messenger about things like hot sauce and stuff like that. Still not on the show though. And before COVID, he did a lot of shows with people in person. Like you had to be in person to do a show. This is kind of Zoom was kind of out off our radar at the time a little bit. So I'm like, but once he started doing Zoom meetings, because he had to because of COVID, Chris Laszlo used to come to his house and they would sit there and do a meeting or a show together. Then because of COVID, Chris Laszlo was on a Zoom meeting with him. But then it just became an easy way to do it. You didn't have to drive to someone's house. You just set up the meeting like this. Marco, I don't think you want to drive to Ohio to do this interview. Look how easy this is.
Right.
So I was like, I'm thinking, why can't I be on a Zoom meeting? So I was drinking one Saturday, and about 4 beers in, I'm looking at my phone. I said, should I ask the question? I'm gonna ask about Elton John. He hasn't touched on Elton John. He likes Elton John. He has a lot of albums, so not rank them all, but let's see, how do I word it? I said, if you ever want to tackle a top 10 of Elton John and you feel like you might need a little help, just let me know. Not too demanding, right, Marco? Kind of, it would make him feel not too bad if he said no, the way I worded it. So he gives me one of those bum thumbs up. I'm like, that's a big no. It might as well be a bump. So whatever. I don't hear from him for a couple of weeks. And then about 2.5 weeks later, he goes, hey, you want to do that Elton John ranking? I'm like, son of a bitch. All right. I'm glad I had that liquid courage to do that. He was calling it Viewer Appreciation Day or a show or something. And I was like, F that. I want to be a regular viewer appreciation. So I made sure I kind of came on with a bit of a bang. So I had confetti above me. I had the Elton John glasses. I had a pool cue with a tack on the end so I could hit the balloon so the confetti comes down, and I pretended to play the piano. I said, if that doesn't get me to come back, then I guess it's my one and only show. Because, I know a little bit about a lot of things, Marco, but I don't know a lot about a lot of things. So I'm always trying to make up for my lack of knowledge with props and bits and shit like that.
Yeah, and you also have like fantastic, like look at the room that you're in. You also have like fantastic settings wherever you're filming. Like you have a room that's like a game room with like arcade machines and stuff. And like, when did you start getting into arcade machines? Do you repair them? Like, what's the story there?
No, I wish I knew how to repair them. Here's the thing. I feel like everyone got the arcade. Everyone my age, from my generation, got that arcade. They got the bug up their ass at the same time, because maybe we all hit that certain age where we realized, the prices aren't too bad. They're floating out there. There's not a lot of arcades out there anymore. So these machines are just out there looking for a home. And I bought a Galaga machine, my first one. And it was a tabletop, the kind you saw at Pizza Hut. Remember? You go to Pizza Hut and they had the tabletop in the corner by the to-go order place. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember that. And
I remember arcades for sure.
Right, arcades, but the tabletop cocktail table.
Oh, I remember the cocktail tables.
Yeah. So that was my first one, and I played that Galaga nonstop because it was just so cool to have one of those in your house, because it was a dream as a kid. I mean, if you would have told me at 14 you had one of those in your house, I would have said, "Are you a millionaire?"
Yeah.
So, and then I sold that one and upgraded to a Galaga regular size. And then had Galaga in there, but it also had like this thing in there with 59 other games, so it wasn't a true Galaga in the guts of it, but it might as well be. And then I would save up a little bit more money, and I got like a Gorf and a Missile Command. And then once you have a few, I have 4 now, you can trade them, so you're not spending top dollar all the time. So, if I'm trading my asteroids that I have, worth maybe 500. So if I want something else, and all these prices keep going up. When I first started 10 years ago, you could get a Popeye machine for like 600. Now it's like $1,000 more.
Wow.
So, but if I ever wanted a Popeye, which I kind of want, at least there's a chance the guy would take my asteroids and maybe knock $400 or $500 off it. So you don't feel the pain as much when you get a new one. Or if you get something, like my Gorf, it was an even trade for my millipede, things like that. I love my millipede machine. And when these break, and they will break, knock on wood that they haven't broken since I had them, to get them repaired. Well, I did have one that broke, a Space Duel, and it was costly. Every time he came over to try to fix it, because there's many problems with it, it cost more than the machine itself. But I don't like it sitting there in my bar downstairs with an out of order sign on it.
Right.
It bothers me.
Yeah. It's like real life, though. You go to an arcade, some of the machines just don't work, right?
Right. But it's bothersome. So I spent a lot of money to get them up and running. I wish I knew how to. That's why I don't own any pinball machines, because like the guy told me, there's a few barcades around here. Those are popping up everywhere now. They've been popping up for the last decade, where they're bars with old school arcade machines in them. And the guy working on a pinball machine there said, yeah, dude, you don't want to buy one of these because you'll see me a lot and I am expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. There's so many mechanisms and parts in those things that so many things can go wrong.
Right. Makes sense. What's something that you're very contrarian on?
I absolutely hate Peter Frampton's Comes Alive. Yes, I hate that album. I can't get through it. I hate the songs when I hear them on the radio. Oh, stop. Just end. So that's the first thing that popped in my head. I think one of the, maybe the most overrated movie is Animal House. I don't even think it's a little bit funny. I think Caddyshack is overrated because of the middle part with Bill Murray, with the romance part, just goes on and on and on. I think Christopher Nolan as a director is very good, but especially lately as a storyteller is absolutely horrible. I do not even want to see his movies anymore. I ignore them, and I don't even have an itch to just check it out. Maybe no, I'm just done with him. I don't, yeah. He's so full of himself. You could see it in the movie too, how full of himself he is. So it rubs me the wrong way. So yeah, I don't like a lot of Christopher Nolan movies.
Wow.
But he's got his fan base.
You're firing shots right now.
Oh, hey, you asked the question.
So we know you love music, movies, arcade machines, video games. What's something we don't know about you?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I don't do anything, Marco. I sit in this room. What you know about me is in this room. You know what? I have a collection of short stories that I wrote. And I haven't written anything in a while, but yeah, I have a nice little collection of short stories I wrote. They're normally horror stories written in like poetry form of like a Dr. Seuss book, because some of the stories are pretty and the rhyming and the Dr. Seuss-ness of it kind of takes the edge off a little bit. A lot of them take place at Christmas time. I wrote a story, for example, about a kid who's a burden on his mother, and because she can't have the social life, he overhears her on the phone talking about how she wish she could do things, and and she can't. So for Christmas, he puts a big present under the tree and says, "Do not open until Christmas morning." And then Christmas morning comes and she can't find her son anywhere, and she goes running towards the present and lifts it up, and he killed himself and left a note that I'm giving you your life back for Christmas, and he's underneath the box. So awful little stories like that.
Right on. Will we ever see them published one day?
No, you will not. You won't see them. God, I don't even know where they are. I'd have to find them.
Well, I hope you find them one day. You can send them out as Christmas gifts, especially
Yeah,
the
they'll
Christmas
be my
themed ones.
Christmas cards. Yes, yes.
I asked this question to all my guests on the show, actually, because of a video that I saw you posted a couple of years ago. I think you were
We've known each other that long, Marco.
No, I saw it within the past few months before I started doing this show. I saw a video that you had posted a couple of years ago where you were waiting for I think it was a Pat Benatar 45.
Yes, yes.
Right. And I think it was kind of like, yeah, it was kind of like your holy grail thing that you had been looking for a long time. I don't know if that's the answer to this question, but I actually started asking this question to folks on the show because of that video. But like, do you have a holy grail and do you own it?
That's it. That's my holy grail. It took me, when I was a teenager, I went to record fairs. This is before Discogs, before eBay, before the internet. And you had to find things in the wild, as they say, or you don't find it. And I always had this dream of coming across, because she did an album in 1974 with a band called Coxswain's Army. And it's a live album, and it was only sold at their shows in Virginia. So it wasn't on a major record label or anything. And she only sings like 3 songs on there. And she sings backup a lot of the time. One of the songs she does is Respect by Aretha Franklin. So I used to have dreams of finding that, at the record fair. And when I say I used to have dreams, I used to go to sleep and dream that I found it. And then I'd wake up and go, son of a bitch. So I actually, as I got older, and $150 didn't become such an outlandish price to me anymore, I bought one. I bought a pretty good copy of one with the shrink wrap still on it, and the album's in near mint condition, the actual vinyl. I'm like, that's it. Look at that. Son of a bitch. Score. But I knew since I was a kid, she always had that little 45 day gig, which she did on the side from Coxswain's Army. And the guy Coxswain, I forget his first name, produced that, on the side. And it was sold only in Richmond, Virginia. She was 19 maybe at the time. And it sounds like a 70s cop show theme mixed with a little Judy Garland, maybe. It's not a bad song, though. But the story is, I don't know if this is true, but 200 were made. She hated it and destroyed half of them. So of the 100 that floated around Virginia, how many exist in when did I buy that? 2020. I don't know. Your guess is it 50, 25? I don't know. But I put it on my want list on Discogs. And as long as Discogs has been around 20 some years, it's never sold to anyone. But I put it on my want list. And then one afternoon, when something pops up on your want list, you get an email. And one afternoon, I got the email. Something is on your want list available. So I click on it and I see that. And I started shaking. Because now you think, oh my God, if I don't move fast enough, somebody else is going to buy it. Like, because I want it so bad, I assume everybody else wants it as bad as me. But if the right Pat Benatar fan sees it, they're going to sneak that up. So I start shaking on my phone, going through the motions, $250 plus $25 to ship. And I go into my living room where my wife's on the couch. I'm like, oh my God, day gig is available. And she's like, doesn't know what the F I'm talking about. So I go through the motions, shaking, and you hit, and I don't feel like I'm really going to get this until I see order complete. And I see order complete, and I was like, bam, look at that. How many people own that? And then the day it came in, I was nervous that it broke in shipping. I was nervous that I was going to break it opening it. I was just, it's all there. I think I was so nervous I said the wrong year, what year it was on the video. I said, I don't even know what year I said. I have no idea. But and it plays good. It's in a frame on my wall downstairs. If there's a fire, that's the first thing I'm grabbing, because it's priceless, literally priceless, because if I ever lost it or if it was stolen or broke, you're not going out and getting a new one. you know, because there's none to get.
Yeah.
If that thing was a Beatles or an Elvis 45, it'd be priceless. Because it's Pat Benatar, you know, I got it for now maybe she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she has, you know, now she has that musical out there, Invincible, and she's touring with Pink. Maybe it's going up a little bit because there's more Pat Benatar out there right now since, I don't know, like 85. She's more popular now than I think in the last 30 years.
So you're big, like, are you a big Pat Benatar fan? Do you have all her albums? And
dude, I have multiple copies of all her albums. I have a Pat Benatar clock, a Pat Benatar coloring book, a Pat Benatar shirts out the ass. I have I'm looking at all her cassette singles up on the wall. I have interviews that I taped off the radio. I talked to her when I was 15 years old on Rockline on the radio, and I taped that, and it's on the original cassette. I put it on CD, and I have it MP3 on my phone. I talked to other people like Aerosmith and Jethro Tull and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and that's another story. But it's all on there, like on that same cassette. I made a video of, I put all my Pat Benatar shit together on the floor. It took up the whole spare bedroom, on the bed and on the floor, and I had to move the camera around because I couldn't get it all in one shot.
Wow.
So yes, when she opened my eyes out one day in the back seat of my dad's car, and you know, the best thing I could put her music as and her voice is it's home. It sounds like home to me. They say you can't go back home. Well, when I put on Tropico or something, it feels like a time machine that I'm going back home. This is my house. I don't know if it's my home. My home will always be, you know, where I grew up. And that's what that music is to me.
Very cool. All right, I've got a few this or that questions. You can give a quick response or you can explain your answer. But they're generally pretty fun questions that I'm going to ask you. You ready?
Are we on a time limit, or are you guys paying for Zoom?
No.
Oh, dude, I got a Pat Benatar mug thing that I drink water out of.
No, thanks to the support that we get from Patreon and stuff like that. We pay for Zoom. It's the least we can do.
So if I talk too much, and if you're paying,
can you imagine if we had all that support?
Blame yourself, because there could have been a time limit.
Can you imagine if we had all that support? We had to jump off after 40 minutes. Like,
yeah, what are you doing with that money? Going to the bar every week?
Okay, so I got a few questions for you. Are you ready? These are serious questions. I need serious answers. Right. Centipede or Space Invaders?
Oh, Centipede. Space Invaders it was cool at the time, but it's a little primitive now.
Cheesy action film or cheesy horror film?
Cheesy horror film. Yeah.
Critters or Gremlins?
Oh, Gremlins.
Are you an A-side guy or a B-side guy?
What the hell does that mean, Marco?
If you are you the single, like the lead single, or are you
do I like the deep tracks?
B-side? No, I mean, like if you had like a 45 of a big hit, are you the big hit or are you the obscure song on the back?
Well, it would seem like sometimes you buy it, like back in the day, sometimes you bought it for the hit. Sometimes you bought it because it had a cool thing on the other side that wasn't on the album. I'm both. I'm a little bit of A, I'm a little bit of B.
70s or 80s music?
As a whole, you got to go with 70s.
7 the Hard Way or Wide Awake in Dreamland?
Marco, nobody knows out there what you're talking about. they're Googling right now. What the hell is that? 7 the Hard Way is a Pat Benatar album, and Wide Awake in Dreamland is another one. You know what? 7 the Hard Way gets a lot of shit. Pat and Neil don't even like it. But I'm gonna go with 7 the Hard Way. Underrated album.
Nice. Are you Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street?
Both have their ups and downs. You know what? Nightmare has two movies that are way better than anything Friday the 13th ever did. So I'm gonna go with that, with the original and the Dream Warriors.
Last one. Would you rather see a reboot or a remake or a prequel?
Well, it all comes down to the franchise and the idea. I don't give a shit. Just make it good.
Okay.
Entertain me. Now, I think prequel would be my answer, because these remakes, they come, they go, and most people don't even remember they remade Poltergeist about 8 or 9 years ago, and then when the remake does kind of stick and people go, what's your favorite horror movie? And you say Poltergeist, you always got to go the original version. So when they remake a movie, they make you say longer sentences when you say what your favorite horror movie is. And I hate that. But when most people forget that remake exists, you can just say Poltergeist and everyone knows what you mean.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Where can we find you?
You can find me over on Sea of Tranquility sometimes. I don't know when this is going to broadcast, but we are going to be doing, I think it's going to drop Christmas Day. I don't know for sure, but I think it's going to drop Christmas Day. We're going to be ranking all 16 Tom Petty albums.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a workload. So I've been revisiting all the albums. You know what? Let me just add this, right? No time limit, right? You said no time limit.
Yeah.
When you rank 16 albums, it's easier than ranking 4 albums to me, because we got like 4 or 5 guys that are doing this. It's 16 albums, so you have no choice but to be fast. So I don't want to say you can half-ass it and get away with it, but you can kind of half-ass it and get away with it. This is a good song, that's a good song, and that's a good song. We actually did not too long ago, we did the Witchcraft rankings of that band, me and Pete and I. And halfway through doing it, I was realizing I'm talking too much about every song. I'm talking about every song, and I'm talking about too much of every song. I started to learn as I was doing that. Don't be too wordy. Don't try to prove to the audience that you know this music like the back of your hand. Let them just trust you do, and just be quick about it so they don't get bored. So that's what I'm going to do with Petty. I'm not going to focus on the petty details. So I'm just going to be really quick, and hopefully it's not a 3-hour show, because nobody wants to sit through that on Christmas morning. You're with your family. Wait, kids, we're not opening presents until we watch the Tom Petty ranking. It's only 2 hours and 45 minutes. Oh, Dad. Cool. So yeah, you can find me there. You can find me on my Facebook page, Let's Get Physical. Every once in a while, I'm on here, the Contrarians, and I'm in this room a lot. So that's it.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jamie, for joining us. You got your own YouTube channel there where I think your In the Spotlight shows go up there. It's just your name, Jamie Laszlo. Let's Get Physical, Sea of Tranquility. Do you jump on anybody else's shows?
I did one with Davy.
Oh,
Davy
nice.
Gallagher. And we did our top 5 favorite Crosby, Stills, Nash songs. I'm sure I'll pop up on there again.
Davy's Cinema Flicks and Music Picks.
And Music Picks, yeah.
I've had to
check out that
memorize
video.
it now.
We had a blast doing that video.
Very cool. All right, thanks a lot, Jamie. Anybody who's interested in like physical media, go check out Jamie's Facebook page, and also check him out on Sea of Tranquility, Contrarians, and Davy's Cinema Flicks and Music Picks.
Pick. Yeah, you got to think about that one, don't you?
Oh wait, no, I got it right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I do have to think about it. I don't want to get it wrong again. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.